Time to talk about another hidden gem on the Super Nintendo. Recently released on Nintendo Switch Online through the Super Nintendo app, Congo's Caper is I suppose you could call it a spin off title or another game in the series of the Joe and Mac franchise. And unlike most fans who kind of write this off and ignore it, this is my favorite. In fact, I don't even really care for Joe and Mac 1 or 2 at all. Or I suppose 2 is technically 3. This game came out in between those two releases. So it's something a little bit different. And I think the changes made are fantastic. I love the sense of style. I love the design. I love the character models, the sprite work, the controls. Like everything is just spectacular. Like this is, I think, a really good example of just prime video game storytelling of just you have some weird thing going on, you showcase the characters, the girl gets kidnapped, and then you're all alone and have to go out to rescue her if you're going to make things right. So it's a unique game with a unique feature. I feel like Joe and Mac feels too much like a generic caveman game, honestly. Like, yeah, there are dinosaurs and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a video game. But all in all, it's not that distinct from other properties like it. Like, it's basically a Flintstones licensed game, honestly. Like, this, I think, is like the peak of caveman platformers. I really don't think there's anything, like, any other, like, dinosaur game, like, on par with this. I think I don't think any other game makes dinosaurs look so cool. And maybe it's my bias talking because I played this when I was very young. I was exposed to this from a young age, which is probably why I'm such a big fan of it. But this is something I've been going back to and playing for years, for very good reason because it is a lot of fun to play. Right, like you have a standard jump, you have a super jump, you have like a standard attack, like you have a dive, you have these cool rolls. Like there's all these cool mechanics that just all like blend together into something that's a lot of fun to play, even if the levels themselves are like very short and simplistic. Like this is a game. This is a very, very straightforward game. Something that I think a lot of young kids could really get into. Like the bright, vibrant colors, the wide variety of environments, and like the unique, interesting sort of situations you find yourself in. There are like very distinct stages here, like that are quite unlike anything else on the Super Nintendo, honestly. So even though the game does have its fair share of problems, it is very short. Like this playthrough I'm showcasing here, I completed in about 36 minutes. Previously, when I last played it, I think it was around 45. So like I am like blowing through this game at this point because I know it so well. But there there's a very good reason I've been talking a lot about Joe and Mac in this video, and it really does boil down mostly to the fact that like this game doesn't seem like it can escape the reputation of the other games. Like JonTron made a Joe and Mac retrospective, and when he started talking about this one, he basically just says, "Yeah, it's not like the other two, so I don't care about it." Like he really does like kind of shit all over it for not being like the other games. Like it seems like in the community at large, like the people who really, really like Joe and Mac, the people who should be the primary audience for this game, like can't get over the fact that it's not like the others. Like I suppose it's a lot like how Castlevania 2 has its reputation and how Zelda 2 had that reputation, Super Mario Bros. 2. Those games, I think, are popular enough that they've kind of established their legacy despite being so different. But when it comes to Congo's Caper, which is like relatively more obscure, I think it's been completely overlooked. I think a lot of people think this game is a lot worse than it actually is. I've always had fun playing this game, and just seeing it being written off as just like, oh, that Joe and Mac game that doesn't have Joe and Mac, I think that's doing it a very, very great disservice. I think from a gameplay perspective, it's very smooth, smoother than Joe and Mac. It has more interesting aspects, like the Super Kid thing, right? Collect 3 orbs and you become a Super Saiyan essentially. And like you get the ability to jump higher and float and like take more hits. It's a really simplistic mechanic, but like it's really exciting whenever you manage to pull off the transformation. And like it doesn't feel like it's cool without like breaking the game. You know what I mean? Like it's so cool how they were able to pull that off. I've never seen another game like do something like this, so it's really cool to see, and the design looks pretty cool. I think this is before Dragon Ball introduced Super Saiyans, actually. Oh, maybe not, but anyway. So yeah, yeah, this game has some of my favorite uses of dinosaurs ever. Right, like this sequence here where you get chased by the T-Rex, like through the tunnel, and then come out to this boss fight is honestly, I think, the moment where I fell in love with this game because like it's not obvious exactly how you're supposed to beat the boss because you can't just go over and hit it. Like you have to figure out like a mechanic you might not have learned yet, and that is like the enemy pushing. Right, you can get you have to hit enemies twice typically. Like hitting them once knocks them out, and then hitting them twice kills them. But the thing is, like when an enemy is unconscious, you can actually do things with it that you otherwise you wouldn't be able to do if you just simply killed him, right? So like you can in this fight you're essentially rolling them into the boss, but you can also jump on their heads to kind of use the super jump without having to transform. So like you can reach a similar level of height like by jumping on their heads while they're unconscious, which is pretty neat. It's something pretty cool and interesting that can help you get reach places that you otherwise might not be able to handle. And the boss fight itself is pretty good too. Like it's easy if you know what you're doing, like I do, but like figuring this out as a kid was an absolute treat, and especially when you realize that this isn't the end. Like watch this. This is mind blowing shit. Like how long is this gonna take? Like how long did it take me to beat this boss? I thought it felt like unusually long while I was playing it, but okay, here we go. That's right. He escapes into the T-Rex, and you have to go after him by going into his stomach and like just tearing through his intestines. Like it's such a cool, neat idea, and they don't do a lot with this. Like it's basically a short stage, but like the fact that they did this at all, like really showcases their creativity. Right? Like you go through the bodily fluids. Like it's cool to. It's a cool idea that like doesn't overstay its welcome and just leads into the next boss fight. And I suppose like that's the big thing that keeps like you playing like through the rather mediocre levels is like the really legitimately good boss fights because I love the boss mechanics. I love like the combat in this game. I love like the wide variety of bosses. Like all of them are easy, especially if you know what you're doing. But like they don't overstay their welcome. They're not boring. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a lot like a faster paced Castlevania. And like I really enjoy that. It's something I wish it's a big part of why I wish this game like had a proper sequel or a spiritual successor or something because I do think this game like rather than the Joe and Mac license actually had a lot of potential to do a lot with its ideas, right? Like you get a wide range of bosses in this game from like pirates to ninjas to like the guys who build the Flintstone cars to to vampires. Like there's all you get like all sorts of things. Oh yes, the unintimidating fellows as JonTron called them. Fucker. I'm still mad about that. Yeah, so um basically after this point you get a stage select screen. So rather like Mega Man, you get to decide where you want to go first. And I went with the vampire one at this time, the haunted castle. And like each area is completely distinct and has a lot of things going for it. In this one, like has the unique gimmick of ghosts. Like every time you kill an enemy, a ghost appears, and like they're invulnerable other than when you interact with a light bulb in the area. So there are there are light bulbs that you have to if you're going to kill an enemy, you're going to have to find a light bulb. If you're going to kill the ghost, you're going to have to find a light bulb. And like it's in your best interest to not kill too many enemies in this area because there are situations in which like you could put way too many ghosts on the screen and like You can't progress without getting hit. So it's best to just tear through these areas as quickly as possible. And the fact that like you can do that on so many levels in this game, I think is a really strong indicator just how weak the level design actually is. Like look at this here. Like I go through 90% of this course just by rolling at the beginning. Congo is like better at rolling than Sonic the Hedgehog is. Like, look, he doesn't have to build momentum. He can slide up hills. Like, look at that. Through the entire thing. And you can tell there are alcoves and like hidden areas and stuff like that. There are secrets in this game. There are things to uncover. Like there are like alternate routes and stuff, but like 90% of the time there's really no reason to try them. Cuz like it's in your best interest. Like to just beat the level as quickly as possible because like there's no reason to get extra lives because the game isn't that difficult. There's no reason to get treasure because that just gets you extra lives. Like there's no reason to like do any of this stuff unless you're like really morbidly curious about like what's down this path or whatever. Oops. Yeah, if you like stuck around in those tunnels, you would have seen a lot of ghosts. Like that is like a stage that's pretty I would say is pretty like ghost heavy. Like you can really get messed up by the ghosts if you don't like if you don't get through it really quickly. Yeah, yeah, and the game is pretty good about like constantly introducing new ideas and new enemies. Like these fire guys, they're not in any other stage in the game. Like there's no other like castle like this in the game. Like each boss stage is completely different. Each boss is completely distinct. There's a lot of um you get like something completely different, even if like the stage itself isn't all that difficult. And this is a really good example of just being like a rather again another a weak stage with a weak boss. Definitely one of the weaker bosses in the game, unfortunately. I love vampires, I do, but this guy is like a complete joke. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah, see some bats. You don't see bats anywhere else other than the other than this area. All right, watch this. So the way this boss works is that you don't actually hit the boss itself. You have to hit the bats. So like when the guy first comes into the room, yeah, you can legit hit all of the bats and kill him just like that. It's a complete joke. Easiest boss in the game. Now, if you don't know that, like the boss might put up a little bit of a fight. Like you have to like hit different bats. You have to like keep your pacing going. Like they'll like if you let the fight go on, they'll mix and match and stuff like that, so it'll be difficult to hit the bats. But like if you know what you're doing, you could do it like right away, like I just did. Well, like I said, like I know this game so well that like most of my runs are optimized, or at least like optimized to a certain extent. I actually discovered a new thing this playthrough that I've never discovered before, which I'll bring up when we see it. Oops, here we go. Oops. Oh, this is me being a dumbass. Look at this. Yeah, there's some weird level design choices here where like you end up falling on the ground and can't get back up. So like you just have to die and just reset. Like again, this is what I mean when I say like the level design feels like it's just not all that great. Cause like what the levels basically amount to are a bunch of enemies and a bunch of platforms, and they're not put together in like any interesting way. They don't really usually make full use of the mechanics. Like they basically just give you an interesting backdrop, like maybe some new music and maybe an interesting gimmick, but like for the most part, you're just trying to get to the exit sign at the end of the level. Like it's unfortunately very basic. Like even like in this part of the game, which is probably the most difficult uh the the difficult part is like this stage select section. I just don't feel like particularly challenged by any of this. Like there are some things you can mess up on and like do wrong and need to do over again, but for the most part, it's just this ridiculous like just run to the right and avoid being killed. It's just it could have been so much more. Like when I look back on like something like DKC, Donkey Kong Country, like yeah, that has a similar design philosophy, but like each stage has like unique gimmicks, right? Like each stage like has is like well made and has a lot going on. You have to like make full use of your abilities to get through it. Like this game just feels like it's not quite on that level. Well, nowhere near that level really. Like it's fun to play in and of itself, but like the levels are just way too short, don't have enough going on, and it's so disappointing too because the enemies themselves are so much fun to fight, more fun to fight than I think the average game. But like the levels just bring the entire thing down. At least as an adult, like I think as again, I think that's the perspective we really need to keep this to keep in mind here is that like I played this when I was very young, and when I was young, I just thought this was the coolest stuff ever. Like you end up like just really appreciating like the artistry, like the sprite work is really good. Like the enemies look great. Like there's a lot of personality there. More so than I think like a lot of even big name Nintendo franchises, right? Like I think the sprite work here is better than Super Mario World. I think it's better than like a lot of things. And and it's like I don't know. Like as an adult, like it feels like there's just not a lot to do. Like you can make things harder on yourself by taking like the hard routes in each level, but it's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you bother? Like just beat the game. Like the bulk of the game is like boss fights anyway. So just get to the boss fights as soon as possible, and then like just beat it, which is like the method I've been utilizing in recent years. I I'll watch this. This is me just at my absolute worst. Oh no! How embarrassing! Oh no! Even when I was playing that, I was embarrassed. Okay, watch this. Watch this. Like I realized when I was playing this that oh wait, I actually have no idea what's this way. Like I always gone down that hole. So I go down here to see what's up, and look what I discover. An exit sign right there, right next to the beginning of the stage that I've just walked past for years. A lot of these stages, short as they are, have multiple exit signs. And a lot of them, quite a few of them, have exit signs right at the beginning. So like if you know where they are, if you if you're willing to like go a little bit out of your way, you can like end a level within like a couple of seconds in less than a minute. And like these stages that are already like not well designed, like that's even weirder that you can just like skip them like primarily. It's such a weird decision, and like I end up like if I know a shortcut exists, I'll take it like almost every time because like the level itself is just so inconsequential. So, usually it's just like it's so weird that they honestly thought that. I thought it was a cool. It would be a good idea to just shove shortcut, just shove like level end signs wherever they want. Like imagine if you played Sonic and then like you jumped in a very specific spot and like ran through a wall and then suddenly oh you have an exit, but now you don't have the ability to run through the entire level. Like there's no reason why you wouldn't just take that exit every single time. It just because it's easier and just gets you through the entire thing quick. I don't know. Like similar things exist in Donkey Kong Country, but Donkey Kong Country, kind of balances it. Like they're typically they'll do it on like the best levels or levels that I don't know. Like it's not like a common thing. Like there's a handful of levels that do it, but for the most part, you'll just play through the level normally if you don't know it's there. Okay, so like this is a weird boss because I I keep going back and forth whether it's easy or hard because I keep doing this thing where like every single playthrough, like I either stomp it like immediately or it takes me a while to do. And in this playthrough, like I actually died, so like I had to start over and like start from the beginning. Like the movement patterns of this boss are kind of weird, honestly. Like that's another thing this game has against it, which I think like really hurts. It's like its credibility is the fact that like yeah there are bosses in this game that have really weird hitboxes. The final boss is a notable example, and the pirate that you see later is also a big example. of that, you'll see me get hit on that fight in like the most ridiculous way possible. And I keep doing it all the time because it takes a while to get used to the pirate's hitbox because it's so big. He swings around on a chain, and because of that, like the hitbox is like messed up. So like it's way bigger than it should be. I probably shouldn't be talking about the pirate again. Like I should be talking about like the level itself, but there's really nothing to talk about. You can kind of see like what I mean when I call like most of the levels mediocre. Like they're basically just a bunch of platforms kind of stitched together with like the level theme in the background. And there are exceptions. Like there are some really good levels here. This is probably an example. Like look at this, like a gimmick, like a giant ball. Oops.
Oh
Yeah, I swear I've never seen that animation until recently. But the last two times I played the game, I keep triggering it. I guess I'm just not getting the. I'm not as good as the game as I used to be. Okay, so yeah, you're basically like outrunning this ball, and although it's like it's not hard to do, like at least it's something a little bit different. Like you have to keep your you have to keep moving. You have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to like avoid all these obstacles. Like it's something a little bit different, and it's something the game just does really really well. There are a lot of moments like this where you're just kind of feeling like, oh yeah, I've never done anything like this before. Like this is probably this kind of thing is probably the highlight of the game of the general level design is just when they throw something like a little bit different at you. But usually you come away with the feeling that like, oh yeah, they could have done so much more with this. Yeah, this is an example of a level I just cannot stand. Like, look at this. Like, all you do is just follow along these like these disappearing blocks, and for some reason, like I'm positively terrible at it. Like every time I play this game, I just die so many times on this section. Like if you've seen me stream this, like you know this isn't the first time I've died here. Like it's always that exact spot. Like I always get hit by that pterodactyl that swoops up from below. Oh, there's another one. Oops. Okay, there's more than one. Okay. And then like after that I kind of like get it together and go, but like yeah, I don't tend to die a lot in this game. Like when I do, it's usually cheap. The only time I would say I like die legitimately is on the final boss, and that's because like it's such a big marathon thing. Like three phases, really difficult, really challenging, with a bizarre hitbox. Actually, I'm not even sure how challenging it really is, because a big reason why I couldn't beat it as a kid was because like it felt like it was impossible to dodge its attacks. And if you don't understand how hitboxes work, it probably is. I didn't at the time, so I felt that I couldn't beat it. I never did beat this as a kid. Actually, I had to come back later as an adult and do it. And yeah, it was hard then, like when I came back and did it. But now that I know how it works, it's fairly straightforward. I did it like first time this playthrough. I don't know. Should I give away things like that in my commentary? Like I don't know if I should or not. But all right, here we go. Yeah, so this is a Japanese castle. Apparently like feudal Japan existed in like the prehistoric the prehistoric era where monkey boys fought dinosaurs. Yeah, very Japanese for like an English release. Yeah, you see, whatever the kanji means. It's the same symbol over and over again. One of these days, I'll probably learn it. All right, so this is probably the hardest boss of the four, and probably the one you
damn
should
it.
probably keep to probably save for last because he's brutal for like a first time player. He has like a huge health bar, lots of unpredictable attacks. Um, and if you don't know like how to where to get like the orbs to become a super kid, you're you're not going to get anything. That is the actual name for it, by the way. Super kid. I looked it up. That isn't something I came up with. It's super kid. I um I used to call it Super Saiyan as a kid, and or Superman, but like never Super Kid. Like that's such a '90s like video game thing. Is just to call your character a super kid. I just I don't really like that, honestly. One of the things I really liked about this game is because I didn't have a manual ever, and because like nobody I knew like knew anything about this game, we ended up like making up our own lore for it, like names for the characters and stuff like that. Um, I I I always like just thinking of like the girl as being the girl. And like when I finally looked it up as an adult and learned her name was supposed to be Conget, I was kind of disappointed. That seemed like so disappointing to me because the girl in this is like charming as hell. Like I've never seen like a girl look so happy to be rescued in a video game. Like oh, I can't believe I've gone this long without commenting on the monkeys. Yeah, every time you beat a boss, the monkeys just stop and shake their butts at you. Like they're that happy. It's such a ridiculous thing to put in a video game. It cracked us up as kids. I We always loved that. That was so funny. And they do it with every boss too. So you're gonna see that you're gonna see a lot of monkey butts in this game. Actually, like if you play as a monkey and stay still, like your idle animation is shaking your butt at the camera. So I guess like the dev team liked it too, but okay, this upcoming sign is a really good example of how like a how a cheating sign can like ruin an entire how an early sign can ruin an entire level. So basically, what you're supposed to do is go to the right and go through more of the level to see the sign. But like, there's actually a sign right to the left, and like all you have to do is just swim through this narrow corridor, and that you will probably get hit on if you don't know exactly what you're doing. But like if you're Congo, if you're not the monkey, if you're like the Super Mario form of the character, like you can just take the hit and then like just go through and get the sign. There's no reason not to just proceed to the next level. Like there's no reason to go to the right, other than the fact that like you just really don't want to take the shortcut. It's just one of those things that just uh, it's so frustrating. It really is. And like it's not like the sign is hidden either. Like you always can just look to the left and like just see it. Like everybody knows it's there. Like there's no reason to like go to the right. Like I imagine a lot of first time players might actually assume they're supposed to go to the left, but uh, it is ridiculous. This is another fun gimmick level, like really cool and badass, swimming through a thunderstorm. Uh, and like the water is apparently like so high it goes over the mountains. I don't know how this is what this was supposed to be, but it's pretty cool. I really like this, and you can actually get struck by lightning in this section when the water goes high enough. It didn't happen here, I think, because I'm so good at the game, but it's pretty cool to see. Like I said, like the game does have a lot of creative aspects to it. And again, I think this video is making it sound like I'm kind of ragging on the game or something like that, but really not really. This is a game I like a lot. I've played this like uh, 4 or 5 times since it came out on NSO, and like I haven't beaten it every single time, but I do typically always play through the first 4 levels, and it's one that I always enjoy. I always have fun with this game. Like it's just fun to play, and that's something that like you really have to like experience for yourself, and something that I think like whatever problems this game may have, like the character is fun to play, has cool, interesting moves, and just like looks cool and has like an interesting goes through an interesting adventure. Right? Like he has to beat all these guys, save his girlfriend, and just kind of like prove himself to overcome the caper, you could say. And he must have done a pretty good job of it, because like that girl was never kidnapped again. Like shit. Like how many times has Princess Peach been kidnapped? Like holy crap. Conget was only kidnapped twice. So I never understood why you have to go around the ship. Because like the structure of the ship seems to indicate like if you just go to the right, you would end up in the boss arena. But for some reason, like the scrolling screen makes you like go back and then like around like under the ship and then like through here and then like you can see here that the camera shifts back and forth. Like this is like the most contrived situation I think for like a scrolling screen level ever. Like I typically I always don't like them. I think they're like the worst. But this is like an example of one that did not need to happen. Okay, this is not my favorite boss fight or anything, but you can't deny this is awesome. Like look at this. Look at that hook. That's awesome. Okay, yeah, yeah. So this guy like will attach his hook to the mast and kind of swing around. And like he actually has like some audio clips where he laughs, which is pretty awesome. Uh but you also saw me get hit. And that is what I was talking about earlier when it comes to like this guy and his ridiculous hitboxes. Like I was like a mile away and I still got hit because his hitbox is so weird. You can actually use this to your advantage though. That's the thing is that like if you stay at a distance away, like you can like hit him without being hit in turn. But like the hitbox is so weird, like particular about it. Like you can learn it, but like looking at it, you would assume you would have to get a lot closer to hit him, or he would have to be a lot closer to you to hit you. So all right, here we go. Oh, I love this. Look at that. It's not enough to shake your butts at the camera. They have to stand on like fountains of water. All right, so we beat the 4 stages and we are on our way to concluding the entire game. Yes, this is the end. Unfortunately, like I said, the game is unfortunately very short. So you have about like 24 levels, like the 4 introductory levels, the 4x4, like the mission select screen, and these final 4 levels, which are unfortunately very disappointing. I as a kid, I was like ecstatic about going back to the T-Rex again and getting more levels, but like really, these are probably the weakest levels in the entire game. Like there's really nothing going on here. Like you're just in the T-Rex again. And like there's nothing new or interesting. Like even the first time was more interesting because at least it was like novel, but here it's like, okay, how big is the inside of the T-Rex really? Why are there so many creatures inside? It doesn't make any sense. But but yeah, the final boss is well worth it. It's a good challenge. And you'll honestly not even remember you played through these levels, honestly, when you're through. And like at least like these levels are different than what you've seen before. Like they have different gimmicks and they're not like exactly the same as the stuff you've seen already. But like at the same time they are too short, they are too easy. They could have done so much more. And you can't really ignore that. Oops, yeah. Yeah, the past couple of times I've played this, I've made this mistake of like trying to go on top when you're actually supposed to go across. So I guess I've learned my lesson. Finally, like how many times have I made that mistake? Like I think I did that on stream too, like more than once. It was very common for me. So yeah, you get like stuff like spiked ceilings, and you get this thing that chases after you. But like the level is so short that like you're honestly never going to see it again. I honestly don't know exactly like how that's supposed to be a threat. The ball is there, like the T-Rex is there. This seems like a thing that they're just trying to replicate that, but it's not the same experience at all. Like look at that, like you just go forward and hit enemies. Like there's no creativity there. There's nothing. Yeah, it's very difficult to run out of lives once you get to the final boss because there's so many slot machines here, which can randomly give you one ups. I remember when I was stuck on this as a kid, I never got a game over once I got to this point. Like I had like, I think I kept doing it over and over and over again until I had like 99 lives, and it was like the most painful thing imaginable because I was like trying to beat this boss, but I just couldn't do it. It was just too rough. Yeah, you have to fight Batty again, which is a pretty cool recap boss. Like Batty's like not a bad boss at all. Like I'm kind of like stomping him here, but like he does have interesting moves, a cool design. Um, It's just a memorable video game villain. I like the character, and even though he's not like the true final boss, it's kind of cool to see to fight him one last time. Like get see him get curb stomped by the real final boss, this guy who just kind of exists. Yeah, I never understood what this guy was supposed to be. Like he just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like he has these weird tentacles behind him. I don't know why is he inside a T-Rex. I don't know exactly what his deal is, but that's what kind of makes him cool, honestly. Um, yeah, I didn't get hit once, so I'm celebrating. Okay, so yeah, the first two phases are pretty straightforward. I could always beat those, but it's the last one that's really obnoxious. The one with the weird hitboxes and like weird movement patterns and weird attacks. Like, look at this. This thing terrified me as a kid. I don't know why I was so scared of it, because I specifically remember being scared of this boss. Like, I think it had like a much more. I think I remembered it as like having a much more horrifying design than it actually did. Because I was telling people about how scary this thing was, like when I wasn't actively playing the game. But yeah, it's right. Look at that. Like I was nowhere near it, but I got hit because of the weird hitboxes. So like I kind of had to reorient it myself, and then like the laser beams got me. So typically what happens when it comes to the hitbox thing is typically you'll get hit once and then like kind of start picking up on like the weirdness of the hitboxes, and then you can adapt and start like figuring out the patterns. Like typically like there is a pattern to this guy. So once you like know the pattern, it's pretty straightforward to just kind of master it and just kind of take him out. And again, this is a pretty hard boss. The fact that I did it so quickly just goes to demonstrate just how much work I put into like mastering this game, because this isn't easy at all. All right, here we go. Look at this. Like I said, no video game girl in history is as happy to be saved as this chick. She really loves you, and I really like that about the character. It's a big reason I would want to see like a sequel, because I want to see that like happy face again. It's just, yeah. Every time you play through the game, it's just a monumental. It's just a lot of fun. Like it doesn't need to be like the best game ever. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be flawless. It doesn't need to be like a generation-defining masterpiece. It just needs to be a fun game that you personally enjoy, and that's kind of what I wanted I wanted you all to take away from this, is that yeah, this is a game that's like that's probably objectively speaking a mediocre 90s platformer. Yeah, it's not the best. Yeah, it's not Mario World, it's not Yoshi, it's not DKC, it's not like any of the well-known like super good Super Nintendo games, but at the end of the day, it is still a legitimately good, interesting Super Nintendo game that does have someone who loves it a lot. And that person is me. I will be. I'm sure I will be playing this game for years to come, and in some capacity. I've been playing it a lot lately, and yeah, I am a fan of this game. I do wish that someone would make some kind of follow up or sequel or spiritual successor or something. I wish there was something like that. I wish there was someone who would just come out and do something like that. Do something with this franchise. I don't know like what status the IP is in. I don't know if we'll ever get a Joe and Mac 4. I suppose it's possible that we could get a Joe and Mac, and like it could be like a huge hit, and we might get a Congo Escaper sequel, like maybe. But like that is like an extremely big stretch. Like I don't think that's ever gonna happen ever. And I honestly, it's probably for the best. Like I don't want them like shitting on this. But on this IP that I love, I'd rather not have a sequel if like there's no heart or soul to it. And this game does have soul. Like in spite of all of its problems, in spite of everything that like I talked about in this video, in spite of everything, this is a game I absolutely love very much.